RuneScape Wiki 44,138 pages. SIGNINREGISTER. Explore updates RuneScape community. Lumbridge. Release date: the 4th of January 2001. Update: Kingdom Misthaline. Members no. Of banks 5, 2 are members only. Of altars 3, if counting the god-related statue and the makeshift altar. In the castle courtyard. Of obelisks 0. Main music harmony. Leader Duke Horatio. Teleportatio. N. Lumbridge home teleport. Lumbridge teleport. Teliath Lumbridge. Lodestone network. Spawning. Ring of Respawn. Guilds Thieves Guild. Inhabitants humans, goblins. In cities, locations, incomplete articles. Lumbridge. Lumbridge is a medium-sized town in the Kingdom of Misthaline. It was originally the first town that new players entered after completing the tutorial prior to the Troll Warzone update. Before the introduction of tutorials, it was also the spot where new players would enter the world. Lumbridge is known and classified by some to be a city for low-level activities, although there's plenty of things for a high-leveled user to do there. Lumbridge is one of the default respawn points for players who die. The other is Egeval, though members can change it to Falada if they have done the recruitment drive quest, Camelot if they have completed King's Ransom, or Soul Wars after completing Nomad's Requiem. Its main features include Lumbridge Castle, where players can start several quests, and where there is also a bank to deposit / withdraw items. There is a general store, a fishing shop, a combat academy, and various other buildings and shops. South of the city is a swamp. Lumbridge also includes entrances and gates to other cities such as Xanaris, Al-Kharid and Dorj Khan. To the east is the River Lum, the second largest river in RuneScape. It is a popular spot for training the fishing skill, as it is close to the bank and the general store, where players can sell the fish for a reasonable price. Contents: Hide. 1. History. 2. Development. 3. Entrances. 4. Transportation. 5. Inhabitants. 5.1. Skills Tutors. 5.1.1. Jobs, discontinued. 5.2. Others. 6 points of interest. 6.1. Lumbridge Castle. 6.2. Banks. 6.3. Spawns. 6.4. Lumbridge Castle Basement. 7 Shops. 7.1. Lumbridge General Store. 7.2. Bob's Brilliant Axes. 7.3. Hank's Fishing Shop. 7.4. Carlina Romancer's Chest. 8 Notable Features. 8.1. Smithing Spots. 8.2. Bait and Fly Fishing Spots. 8.3. Saradomin Church. 8.4. Trees. 8.5. Tree Patch. 8.6. Combat Academy. 8.7. Fred's Farm, West Farm. 8.8. Thieves Guild. 8.9. Cucomatic 25. 8.10. Goblin House. 8.11. East Farm. 9 Achievements. 10 Nearby Features. 10.1. Lumbridge Crater, formerly the Western Forest. 10.2 HAM. Hideout. 10.3. Lumbridge Swamp. And 2 more English. SIGNINTOEDIT. Fandom. Beta. Fan. Central. Games. Anime. Movies. TV. Video. Wikis. Starter. Wiki. 10.4. Water Altar. 10.5. Mill Lane Mill. 10.6. Mine. 10.7. Crayfish Cage Spots. 10.8. Net Fishing Spots. 11 Graveyard. 12 Quests. 13 Music. 14 Trivia. 15 References. History. This section or article is incomplete. Reason: needs more info on the Battle of Lumbridge and the Lumbridge Rebuildathon. You can discuss this issue on the talk page or edit this page to improve it. In the year 1937 of the Fourth Age, long after the God Wars, a town was settled on the River Lum by migrating human nomads. A bridge was made over the River Lum connecting the areas separated by the river. They named the town after the River Lum Bridge or Lumbridge. The bridge also opened up trade and colonization of Al-Kharid, and many island areas of Entrana and Karamja. This led to the town becoming a center of trade within the Breadibasket of Misthalin. Lumbridge is a duchy ruled by Duke Horatio, but as part of Misthalin it ultimately answers to King Roald III. Prior to Horatio, there was an unknown number of dukes ruling Lumbridge from 1937 of the Fourth Age to the early Fifth Age. However, Polonius was the first Duke of Lumbridge. Polonius was given the land by the king of all of Misthalin, King Claudius, at the time. Duke Horatio is a direct descendant of Polonius. This history of leadership is an allusion to Shakespeare's Hamlet. Polonius also built Lumbridge Castle in the place of a wooden fort that had stood as a temporary fortress against invading forces, mainly goblins that largely inhabited the Lumbridge area, and still do to this day. At the start of the Sixth Age, a mysterious portal appeared. After growing in size, Zamorak would eventually emerge. Saradomin would soon appear and start a duel with Zamorak, starting the Battle of Lumbridge. The battle was devastating, particularly at the initial outbreak of war when Zamorak and Saradomin caused a huge explosion via the collision of their power beams. This explosion destroyed the entire forest, the back wall of Lumbridge, and damaged several of the residential houses. After this initial explosion, Saradomin summoned many white knights and Zamorak thus summoned their rivals, the Kinshara. The battle lasted for approximately 10 weeks with other combatants joining the conflict, including thousands of adventurers. Each side's forces fought furiously in order to gain divine tears from the deceased god Guthix in order to aid their god in gaining the upper hand from the stalemate that had occurred. As the death toll grew, Duke Horatio trained elite guards, issued guard dogs to patrol the streets, and even called for aid from Falada, all on the advice of adventurers in fear that the fighting would spill out of the crater into the town itself, though this never actually happened. Although the adventurers did not choose to call for aid from Varrock, the Duke nevertheless called for resources and troops from the capital of the kingdom, as stated by King Roald. However, despite this attack on Misthalin, King Roald decided not to aid Lumbridge and instead tasked the Duke with resolving the issue. Eventually, after the deaths of thousands on each side, the divine energy was all but consumed, and Saradomin, having consumed more, wounded Zamorak but was unable to kill him as Muir teleported the god away. Each side's forces dispersed peacefully and Saradomin, having obtained some of Guthix's power, teleported away leaving the battlefield abandoned. In the aftermath of the battle, Foreman George began cleaning up and rebuilding Lumbridge. With the aid of adventurers, the Zamorakian and Saradomist campsites were stripped down for building materials to rebuild the fishing shop, general store, and Explorer Jack's house. And the debris from castle walls was removed. In addition, the builders were able to make a memorial fountain in honor of those that died. Development. Lumbridge may have been based on the real-life city of Cambridge in England, where Jagex has its headquarters. Since its inception, it has had 4 graphical makeovers. The first was in 2005, and marked the beginning of the graphical updating of the whole of RuneScape. Players had long complained about the lack of a bank in Lumbridge, which caused serious inconvenience to players, especially new ones, and the popularity was lower than the main cities. A bank was finally added on the 15th of March 2006 during the Recipe for Disaster update for those who had completed the first subquest. Later, a bank was installed on top of the castle for all players during the Skill Tutors update of the 27th of September 2006 along with Lumbridge Home Teleport 1. This raised the popularity of the city very much. Another members-only bank was added together with the Thieving Guild, and access to it is a reward for buyers and sellers and its various capers. The Bridge over the Lum. Artwork of the River Lum from Jagex Games Studios. Lumbridge, devastated by the battle between Zamorak and Saradomin. Lumbridge during the battle. Advertisement. The second graphical makeover for Lumbridge came with RuneScape High Detail, which was released as beta on the 1st of July 2008, on the day when RuneScape HD was released and Lumbridge was graphically updated, there was a glitch on the first floor, UK, above Explorer Jack's house that made players unable to move. The only option was to teleport out. The glitch is now repaired. A third graphical rework came sometime later, adding new textures and detailing to several buildings. With the release of RuneScape 3am, fourth update was released, again adding many new textures. This also occurred in Egeval, Varrock, Draenor and Burthorpe. On the 6th of March 2017 the western parts of Lumbridge and Lumbridge Crater were reworked both graphically and functionally. Lumbridge is one of the most graphically detailed places in RuneScape, with a focus to detail taken to everything in the area like the smoke coming out of smokestacks. Along with detailed walls and roofing, rocks on the path, asymmetric fencing, and many other things. Entrances. To enter Lumbridge, players can use the bridge to the east of the town over the River Lum to Alcarid and follow to the path into the farms and follow north to Varrock. A path from Lumbridge Swamp enters the town from the south, and the Lumbridge Crater leads to Draenor Village and the Wizard's Tower. Transportation. Home Teleport, a spell that does not require any runes. However, it takes approximately 10 seconds to cast, and can be interrupted by combat. It can teleport players to the Lumbridge Lodestone. Lumbridge Teleport. Unlike the Lumbridge Home Teleport, this spell requires level 31 magic, 1 lore rune, 1 earth rune and 3 air runes to cast, but is faster and does not get interrupted by combat. Casting this spell is a part of the medium Lumbridge and Draenor tasks. Lumbridge Teleport Tab. Members have the additional option of using teleport tablets to reach Lumbridge. This works similar to casting the lumbridge teleport spell. Normally, but can be used on all spellbooks and only takes up 1 inventory space. Canoe. This transport system allows transportation to several landing points along the river Lum. Provided the player has the woodcutting level required, they may use the system to reach several locations, including lumbridge. Portal chamber. Players with at least 50 construction can build a lumbridge teleportation portal in their home. Using 100 lore runes, 300 air runes, and 100 earth runes, a portal can be made that will allow infinite teleports to the area. Death, a method that requires little to no effort, and no requirements. Simply dying can send you back to a respawn point you've unlocked. Since lumbridge is unlocked by default, this provides a way to get there with no skills or quests required. Players are however strongly recommended to bank any valuable items as they will only keep 3-4 with protect item prayer on items in case they do not reach their gravestone in time. Inhabitants. Players can find a number of non-player characters, NPCs, in lumbridge. Several NPCs in lumbridge used to give players jobs in return for some coins. This was one of many easy ways for players to gain money with little work, and was especially useful for new players. Skills tutors. Lumbridge contains a particularly high number of tutors, since they may be useful for new players. These were introduced with the Skill Tutors update, and include Lady Deathknell, the head of the Combat Academy. Melee Instructor, named Harlan, also the Master of Defense. Lumbridge Sage who helps to accustom newcomers to the game, named Phileas. Quest Tutors, named Dorney. Rodek, the Advisor, who can be helpful to newcomers. Previously, there was a fishing tutor named Finlay, mending a small fishing net or occasionally a crayfish cage, who could be found sitting on a stool near the lumbridge swamp fishing spots. Previously, the woodcutting tutor, Wilfred, was found in between Rodek's house and the lumbridge furnace. Wilfred is now found in the trees north of Falada, still selling the woodcutting cape of achievement. Previously, the prayer tutor, Yachomi, was found in the lumbridge cathedral. Previously, the cooking tutor, Cordero, was found giving tips to low-level cooks in the house south of Bob's brilliant axes. Previously, the crafting tutor, Ctmus, was found in the room adjacent to Duke Horatio's, the one with a spinning wheel, in the lumbridge castle. The smelting tutor, Firas, can still be found working beside the lumbridge furnace. However, he cannot be engaged in conversation. Jobs, discontinued. Jobs were removed from the game along with some of the tutors with the introduction of the advisor system. Players were asked to bring certain items to tutors. NPCs around lumbridge would usually ask players to bring a certain number of items to them or bury a certain number of bones, although only the prayer tutor gave this task. The job asked would always be within the skill range of the background on the RuneScape's guide page of lumbridge. Advertisement. Advertisement. The lumbridge musician entertaining near the river Lum. Advertisement. A player raising the flag at the roof of the bank. The player. The difficulty of the job increased with the player's experience in the corresponding skill. Payment could range from a few hundred coins to a few thousand. Others. Duke Horatio, an official involved in several quests. Sigmund, a member of HAM and a former advisor to Duke Horatio. Fred the farmer, found at the farmhouse south of Mill Lane Mill. Father Eric, a priest who worships Saradomin in the church. Bob, owner of Bob's Brilliant Axes. Hans, a helpful but easily frightened NPC found in the courtyard of Lumbridge Castle, selling veteran capes. Nastroth, a collector of God Wars relics from players. Chief Thief Robin, found in the new thieving guild. Cook, Duke Horatio's personal cook, who is the starting point for Cook's assistant and recipe for disaster. Darren Lightfinger, head of the thieving guild. Servant, a white knight guarding the underground lair of a dragon. Players who have done unstable foundations instead of the old tutorial, where the dragon was only forced back, instead of killed, will find him in the White Knight's castle in Falada. Barfy Bill, a retired pirate and canoe expert. Explorer Jack, a famous explorer currently resting in northern Lumbridge. Doomsire, the danger sign guide. Lactoffer, a laserbones recently left homeless. Victoria, worried about her brother, Lactoffer. Guardsman Braun, a member of the Lumbridge Guardsmen. Guardsman Dante, a member of the Lumbridge Guardsmen. Guardsman Peel, a member of the Lumbridge Guardsmen. Guardsman Deshawn, a member of the Lumbridge Guardsmen. Guardsman Pazel, a member of the Lumbridge Guardsmen. Barricade Guards, guardsmen responsible for upholding the quarantine during learning the ropes. Shopkeeper, the owner of Lumbridge's general store. Shop assistant, helping the general store run smoothly. Seth Groats, a local farmer that lives on the east side of the River Lum. Gilly Groats, daughter of Seth Groats and expert cow milker. Millie Miller, the owner of Mill Lane Mill on the outskirts of Lumbridge. Vaskn, a local farmer overlooking the town's hops farming patch. Musician, plays music for players. Points of interest. Lumbridge Castle. Main article, Lumbridge Castle. Duke Horatio and his advisor Sigmund are found on the first floor, UK. The spinning wheel, used in crafting, is also located upstairs. Players who have started the recipe for disaster quest can also access the Kalinaromancer's chest in the castle's basement, as well as a wide variety of cooking ingredients and cooking implements to buy. Along with the Lumbridge Tutors update, a free bank was added to the top floor of the castle. The basement is a place of interest for new players, as it has training on level 2 spiders and spawns of gloves and leather boots. It also contains the entrance to the Dorchshuan mines. There was much controversy over the update that brought the tutors and the bank. Many people considered the additions to make the game too easy. The forums were at one time riddled with players trying to bring back challenge to the game. Raising the flag, climbing to the top of the castle, accessing the bank and talking to Duke Horatio are some of the beginner tasks in the Lumbridge and Drainer tasks. Banks. The main bank is on the top floor of Lumbridge Castle. The Lumbridge Bank contains several log spawns directly adjacent to it. Players can use it as an alternative to the Alcarid range. With a tinderbox, players could light the logs to create a cooking fire. Members also have access to the Kalinaromancer's chest in Lumbridge Castle cellar, which features a bank. Once the first part of recipe for disaster has been completed, it also features a food shop and an item shop. As you progress in the subquests of Recipe for Disaster, you gain increased access to the item shop, which ultimately features one of the best gloves in the game. Spawns. The following items spawn in or around Lumbridge Castle. The Lumbridge Sage can be found dressed in blue and white. Advertisement. The bank on the top floor of Lumbridge Castle. Advertisement. Bronze arrow, on the ground floor, by the northern staircase. Pot, jug, bowl, knife, ground floor, kitchen. Bucket, knife, leather gloves, leather boots, basement. Mind rune, ground floor, by the southern staircase. Bronze dagger, first floor, southern room. Logs, 4 spawns, top floor. Bronze pickaxe, 2 spawns, at the top of one of the gate towers. Air rune, in the forest south of the potato field. Iron dagger, in a house destroyed by goblins south of the cow field. Lumbridge Castle basement. The castle basement is a dark room under the Lumbridge Castle kitchen, accessible through a trapdoor. The basement contains spawn points for a knife, cabbage, bucket and 2 pairs of leather boots. Spiders can also be found there. Lumbridge Castle basement has 4 spider spawn points. It used to be a popular place to do splash magic training. The basement also contains the Kalinaromancer's chest and an entrance to the Dorchshuan mine, which connects to the Lumbridge swamp caves. Shops. Lumbridge General Store. A limited number of general items can be bought at the Lumbridge General Store over a certain amount of time. Many of the items available in this general store can also be picked up around the area. The general store can be found north of Lumbridge Castle, south of the Combat Tutors Center and connected to a house by a catwalk. In a recent update, the general store installed a new door east of the store, but an unfixed bug caused the door only able to let people in and not letting them out. However, by turning on the run option it is possible to get out through the east door. Bob's Brilliant Axes. Bob's Brilliant Axes is a shop that is advertised on flyers dropped by many non-player characters. Bob starts the easy part of Lumbridge and Drainer tasks, and he repairs Barrow's equipment, along with many other degradable armors and weapons, for a price. Before the random event update, he also repaired broken hatchets and pickaxes. He also buys and sells a limited range of tools, including bronze pickaxes, which are not very wise to buy seeing as there are 2 bronze pickaxe spawns nearby, atop the Lumbridge Castle gatehouse. Hatchets in bronze, iron or steel. Battle axes in iron, steel or mithril. Hank's Fishing Shop. Hank's Fishing Shop is the place to be for all your basic fishing equipment, nets and rods, or if you want to stock up on feathers or fishing bait. He also gives away free small fishing nets and crayfish cages. This was added in the 17th of September 2009, as there were no fishing stores in Lumbridge before then. Kalinaromancer's Chest. Main article, Kalinaromancer's Chest. The Kalinaromancer's Chest is located inside the Lumbridge Castle cellar and is only available after completing at least one sub-quest of Recipe for Disaster, otherwise it is invisible. As well as being a bank, it also has 2 shops. Upon completion of each sub-quest, better equipment and more amounts of food become available. The items shop sells kitchen weaponry and metal gloves, which are among the best in the game. They range from bronze to barrows. Bronze through rune gloves are much cheaper, and some have higher stats than the combat bracelet and region bracelet. Dragon and barrows gloves cost 100k but have extremely high bonuses. Kitchen weaponry have stats equivalent to various metal weapons. The food shop sells small amounts of items such as chocolate bars, cooking apples, cheese, pat of butter, bowls, grapes, and other food and utensils. For most of the chest's items, the grand exchange price is much higher than their chest price, so they can be bought for a profit. Notable features: smithing spots. The furnace, anvil, and bank chest here is useful for new players and for members using the agility shortcut from the mine. It is usually populated with low-level players who have mined copper ore and tin ore from the mines south of Lumbridge, as well as those using it for higher-level smithing with items bought off of the Grand Exchange. The closest bank is right to the west of the furnace, in the Combat Academy. Since the update on the 24th of June, 2010, there is an anvil located near the furnace, which is convenient, since players no longer have to run to the drainer village sewers or Varrock to train smithing or make armor/items. This is the first furnace available to non-members, with an anvil next to it, the second being Doric's house after completing what's mine is yours. There is a blacksmith working the bellows next to the furnace. The single most popular general store on the planet. Advertisement. A selection of hatchets available for sale. Hanks there for all the fishermen. Advertisement. Lumbridge furnace. Bait and fly fishing spots. The River Lum is a useful source of trout, pike and salmon. Players can fly or bait fish in the river. Level 20 fishing is required to go fly fishing for trout, level 25 to go bait fishing for pike, and level 30 to go fly fishing for salmon. Players can now use a net on the fishing spots behind the church to catch crayfish. Saradomin Church. Father Eric watches over his 200-plus-year-old church of Saradomin here. There is also an altar to recharge prayer points. Yachomi. Used to be here before an update. Players are also able to upgrade their gravestones at the church once they have completed the Restless Ghost quest by speaking to Father Eric. It also has a sign that shows how many players died in the respective day in RuneScape. It differs from world to world, but with the reintroduction of the wilderness, the number is often very high. The organ inside of this church has an option that says play, which will result in a cinematic in which skeletal hands play the organ. Also, when inside of the church, and when a player's music player is not playing anything, the organ can be heard playing the opening of J.S. Bach's chorale. Jesus Blibit Main Freud, commonly known as Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring. At the top of the church is a bell, which, when rung, causes a message to the player that says, "You ring the church bell," confusing the citizens of Lumbridge. This is one of the Lumbridge tasks. The bell can also be heard when standing in or around the church. Trees. Lumbridge includes a number of ordinary trees, 2 willow trees south of the furnace building used for a medium Lumbridge task, and the strong tree shortcut south of the graveyard. These may be useful to those training woodcutting, fire making or fletching, and a couple of oak trees are found near the castle and a few yews in the forest north of the swamp. Many trees west of the Lumbridge castle were destroyed at the start of the Battle of Lumbridge. Tree patch. Just northeast of the castle, next to the furnace and anvil, is a patch that members can use to grow wood trees with the farming skill. Combat Academy. Main article, Combat Academy. The Combat Academy, which is run by Lady Deathknell, is a place for players to learn the basics of combat after the evolution of combat. It hosts a tutorial for all information related to the new combat system. She offers 7 lessons for players to understand the basics. Fred's Farm, West Farm. The farm north of Lumbridge is owned by Fred the farmer, and is an excellent place to obtain wool. Players can shear the sheep in the farm. to obtain wool, and then spin it into balls of wool on the spinning wheel in Lumbridge Castle. Black balls of wool can be used to help Fred the farmer with his task in sheep shearer. Farmer Fred also keeps chickens, which players can kill to obtain raw chickens, feathers and bones. There's a super large egg with the chickens. They are particularly popular for players training prayer, since they are easy to kill and always drop bones for burying. They are also an easy source of free feathers for use in fishing and fletching, cutting nearby trees, making fires, and cooking the raw chickens earns minor experience in woodcutting, fire making, and cooking. Behind Farmer Fred's house is an onion patch with 12 onions. This is particularly useful for players who wish to make yellow dye. Players can also take a bronze axe from the log standing on the ground outside of Farmer Fred's house. Farther north is a large field containing cows and calves, which players can kill to obtain cowhides, raw beef and bones. There is also a dairy cow here, which players can use to obtain milk for use in cooking. Farmer Fred's house contains a dairy churn, which members can use to turn the milk into cream, butter or cheese, if they have a high enough cooking level. Thieves' Guild. Main article, Thieves' Guild. Above the furnace is a trapdoor that leads to the Thieves' Guild. It is owned by Darren Lightfinger and is helped run by Chief Thief Robin. Players can train thieving here. And once fully expanded, it contains a general store and bank, as well as a very large area. This location is members only. Cookomatic 25. The Cookomatic 25, located in Lumbridge Castle's kitchen, has the lowest burn rate of all the ranges in RuneScape. Players must have completed the Cook's Assistant quest in order to use it. The range is ideal for training cooking, for it is located very close to the Kalinaromancer's chest, which can be used as a bank after starting recipe. For disaster in the cellar. Goblin House. On the east side of the river, there is a building that houses large numbers of level 2 goblins, though the entire area is crawling with spiders and goblins. This area is a very popular area for new players to start training. The most valuable goblin drop is a level 1 clue scroll, which is very rare but can lead to valuable items. The goblins also drop air talismans, which can be useful for new players starting the rune crafting skill. According to Victoria, these two goblin houses were previously owned by the residents of Lumbridge. The previous owners were forced to the in-game map of the Lumbridge area, post-Battle of Lumbridge. Father Eric inside the church. Advertisement. The Combat Academy. Fred the Farmer's house. Advertisement. The Goblin house is on the east side of the River Lum, near a farm containing cows. Water wheel at East Farm. Retreat to the western side of the River Lum. Two residents were Lactoffer and HAM Agent William. It is possible that Loza the Magician also once lived here, as mentioned by the Champion Guild Master during the Dragon Slayer quest, when the player inquires about Loza's map piece. East Farm. The second farm in Lumbridge is on the east side of the River Lum, on the path that leads north to Varrock. It includes a cow pasture on the east side of the path, and chicken coop on the west side of the path. The cow pasture is a place for beginners to train in combat. It is usually crowded, and often there will be players collecting cow hides there. For those who need milk, there are two dairy cows close to the entrance of the pasture. On the eastern side of the pasture, there is prized dairy cow that provides the top quality milk for the Cook's Assistant quest. The chicken coop to the northwest includes chickens that are an alternative for low-level players wishing to train their combat skills. There are also 2 egg spawns, one inside the coop and one just to the west side of it. A building is just to the side of the chicken coop. There is a super large egg here for the cook's assistant quest. This building has a dairy churn and a fireplace for those who wish to level up cooking. Achievements. Main article, Lumbridge Achievements. The Lumbridge Achievements are a subcategory of the Exploration Achievements category. It focuses on completing different achievements all around Lumbridge and Drain a Village. Completion of these achievements will reward the player with an Explorer's Ring. This ring has 4 tiers to it, and one can achieve a higher tier by completing the next difficulty level achievement set. These achievements can be started by talking to Explorer Jack in his house west of Lumbridge General Store. Explorer Jack, Bob, and Ned in Drainer Village will reward the player for completing the beginner, easy, medium, and hard achievements, respectively. It was the only task set for free players before the task update. Since then, a lot more achievements are available for free-to-play players such as the Falada, Demonheim and Varrock achievements, and a handful of Lodestone achievements are also achievable. A full list of available achievements for free-to-play players can be found on the list of free-to-play achievements. These achievements used to be part of tasks prior to the release of the achievements system on the 18th of April, 2017. Nearby features. Lumbridge Crater, formerly the Western Forest. Before the Battle of Lumbridge that caused total destruction upon Lumbridge's lands, there used to be a small forest from Lumbridge leading to Drainer Village with many goblins and level 2 giant spiders. Also, before the world event began, there used to be a portal located in the middle of the forest. This had many people come along to view the portal. Eventually, once the portal grew in size, Zamorak emerged, causing total devastation to try and find Tears. He was then prevented to do so by Saradomin, eventually resulting in the two battling out, hence obliterating the forests west of Lumbridge. Most of the path leading through this forest has become destroyed, along with the trees. Since the end of the Battle of Lumbridge, the crater upon which the world event took place still remains, scarring Lumbridge's landscapes forever. Every so often, the crater is turned into a party area, usually during summer or Christmas. HAM Hideout. Main article, HAM Hideout. The HAM Hideout is in a hidden mine shaft located west of the cow pen on the eastern side of the River Lum. It takes part in the quests The Lost Tribe, Death to the Dorjshuan, and One Small Favor. It is the main base of HAM, an organization dedicated to wiping out all non-human species, excepting gnomes, dwarfs, and such. Only members can lock the trapdoor and get inside. The trapdoor to get inside is in this mine shaft. Lumbridge Swamp. Main article, Lumbridge Swamp. Lumbridge Swamp is south of Lumbridge through the graveyard next to the altar and cooking range. It is home to many things, including the water altar, two mines, a low-level and high-level, fishing spots, the entrance to the Lumbridge Swamp caves, and a hut that teleports to Xanaris. The spawn of swamp tar in the swamp, which is a useful way to make money. More details in the money-making guide. On the 15th of March, 2011, the swamp was graphically updated, the ground and sky are darker, the mining rocks were changed, and the cave entrance was changed to a hollow tree. Water altar. Advertisement. Advertisement. The small forest before the Battle of Lumbridge caused its devastation. Advertisement. Main article, Water Altar. The Water Altar is in Lumbridge Swamp, south of the Lumbridge crater, southwest of the town. Players can craft water runes here, which requires level 5 rune crafting, as well as mist, mud and steam combination runes. This was a popular rune crafting training choice for low-level players before the release of the runes ban. It's also used for 2 Lumbridge tasks. Mill Lane Mill. Main article, Mill Lane Mill. Mill Lane Mill is where flour can be made, and is surrounded by fields where players can pick free grain to make it. Here players get the extra fine flour in Cook's Assistant. Mine. South of Lumbridge Swamp is a small mine where players can obtain copper ore and tin ore, enough to make bronze bars at a furnace. Players with a low mining skill may also find this useful for training, since they need only level 1 mining. Another mine has coal, mithril, and adamantite ores for high-leveled miners. Crayfish cage spots. There is only one spot located at the River Lum behind the church. Net fishing spots. Just northeast of the mine are some net fishing spots where players can catch shrimp with level 1 fishing, or anchovies with level 15 fishing. There is also a small fishing net spawn, which may be especially useful to new players. Graveyard. There is a graveyard just south of the church, housing the entrance to the Lumbridge catacombs. Xenia can be found here until her death, afterwards being replaced by Iona. This is the only entrance to the Lumbridge Swamp accessible from Lumbridge. There is also a walkway lined with gravestones south of the graveyard, in the swamp itself. Quests. Players can start the following quests in Lumbridge. Cook's Assistant and Recipe for Disaster may be started by speaking to the cook in Lumbridge Castle Kitchen. Myths of the White Lands may be started by speaking to Explorer Jack. The Restless Ghost quest may be started by speaking to Father Eric, who is tending to his church near the castle. The Lost Tribe may be started by speaking to Duke Horatio's advisor Sigmund. He is found in the central room on the first floor of Lumbridge Castle. The mini-quest, Sheep Shearer, may be started by speaking to the paranoid farmer Fred, in his house northwest of the castle. The thing which has Fred so rattled is an odd sheep which has penguin legs, and is featured in the Cold War quest. The Blood Pact may be started by speaking to Xenia in the Lumbridge Cemetery. Buyers and sellers may be started by speaking to Darren Lightfinger down the trapdoor, northeast of Lumbridge Castle. Music. The following music tracks are unlocked in Lumbridge. Harmony, the majority of Lumbridge south of the farms. Harmony 2, in the Lumbridge Castle basement. Autumn Voyage, northeast of Lumbridge, in the chicken coop. Flute Salad, around Fred the farmer's house. Dream, in the forest west of Lumbridge. Yesteryear, in the Lumbridge Swamp, south of the cemetery. The Duke, first floor of Lumbridge Castle. Book of Spells, the swamp south of Lumbridge. Trivia. Prior to the reintroduction of free trade and the traditional wilderness, Lumbridge was one of the hotspot main areas on Park Worlds due to the close-by altar in the church. According to the map of Devious MUD, the forerunner to RuneScape, Lumbridge was not originally meant to be a town, but just a castle and bridge. In the game, Armies of Guylina on Funorb, the other website by Jagex, in the Saradomin campaign there is a level called Bridge the Lum whereby the 6 Barrows brothers are rejoined. This is a reference to Lumbridge, even though Lumbridge was not around during the Third Age, when Armies of Guylina is set. See canon. However, it is possible that the stage was set before Lumbridge was founded, where only very small villages existed. Upon the completion of the quest Garden of Tranquility, the king's statue outside of the Lumbridge castle courtyard becomes an empty plinth. It is now seen in the garden east of Varrock Palace. On the 27th of August, 2010, plaques were added just outside Lumbridge Castle's main gate with the names of the current winners of the Jagex Clan Cup, as well as the advertisement. One of the Lumbridge crayfish fishing spots. The graveyard. The grave walk. Spooky advertisement. A historical map of Lumbridge. Popular pages. Names of those who won last year, engraved upon it. It displays the victors of all of the combat, skilling and combined cups from both 2009 and 2010. The Grassy Hills Training Arena in Arcanists, a game on FunOrb, may be based on Lumbridge, due to its completely neutral and player-friendly nature and the presence of a castle in the background. The prefix Lum, meaning light, gives Lumbridge and the river Lum names the literal meanings of Bridge of Light and River of Light. On the 2nd of July, 2011, a large rock was added to the Lumbridge Castle courtyard, related to the Citadel's update. When the clan citadels were released, the rock was removed. During the Battle of Lumbridge World event, there were a total of 7 banks in the city. The Dorj Khan Bank, the Combat Academy Bank, the Thieves Guild Bank, the Culinoromancer's Chest, the 2 God Camp Banks and the bank at the top of the castle. Even though the Culinoromancer's Chest is members only, free players can collect items that they have bought from GE. There was once a tutorial quest for new players. Learning the ropes was the second tutorial. The first was Tutorial Island, and was later replaced by Unstable Foundations. The tutorial quest was removed later and replaced by the new task system. New players once used to complete the tutorial before arriving in Lumbridge. Back when learning the ropes was the tutorial, there were actually 2 versions of Lumbridge. One was fenced off with barricades and used in the tutorial, preventing the player from leaving Lumbridge. There were a few other differences, such as the mine being open and Rodek's house having a basement. The Lumbridge visited during the tutorial was meant to be the town before the player enters the game, making it something like a prequel that takes place immediately before the rest of the game. References: 1 Jagex. Skill Tutors. The 27th of September, 2006. RuneScape News. 2 Jagex. RuneScape HD, members only beta launch. The 1st of July, 2008. RuneScape News. RU. Categories. Languages. Community content is available under CC/BY unless otherwise noted. More fandoms. Fantasy RuneScape. Falada Massacre. Armor / Melee Treasure. Trails / Guide / Coordinates. Armor / Magic Armor. Iron Man Mode / Strategies. Explore Properties. Fandom. Muthid. Fanatical. Follow US. Overview. What is fandom? About. Careers. Press. Contact. Terms of use. Privacy policy. Digital Services Act. Global Sitemap. Local Sitemap. Community. Community Central. Support. Help. Advertise. Media Kit. Contact. Fandom Apps. Take your favorite fandoms with you and never miss a beat. RuneScape Wiki is a fandom games community. View mobile site, follow on IG, TikTok, join Fan Lab.